Not the only game we have going on here, so we'll get our pick 'em squared up. So we pick each game, and then also give them a confidence rating. Just a quick peek at last week. Another good weekend for the fellas. We were all pretty aligned, though. The one game was Tyler. Unfortunately, he got Alabama right. But Brooke having his best week, 49 points, the winner of the week. Has closed the gap a little bit. So good week. Having some good stuff here.
Yeah, that Alabama dominated the first 2.5 quarters, and then I don't know what happened. Or Georgia decided to make it a game, and then that 17-year-old went nuts at the end for
That
Bama.
was
That was a
nuts.
good game.
And then UCF got us all with egg on our
Yeah.
face.
What the
In no
hell?
way, shape, or form could I have ever imagined that game going like that.
No,
No.
like run the ball against them. We
Yeah,
showed you that their defense is trash. Run the ball.
and like they have KJ Jefferson. It's not like they got this NFL prospect who's gonna sit in the pocket. Like get KJ downhill. These guys can't keep up with him.
Yeah,
Well, they started off doing that. Their defense couldn't really stop Colorado's offense, but I mean, as they got more and more down, it's like they tried to throw their way out of it, and I was like, one, that's not what Colorado's defense is set up to do, and two, that's not what KJ Jefferson does well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that was just a tough look for UCF.
Well, lots of good games here. So we'll get started. An oddly interesting game because I would have never thought that a UNLV or a Syracuse game would be very interesting, but very much so. Kyle McCord has been awesome this year. Now that he doesn't have the shackles of Ohio State weighing him down. So I'll get things started here. I don't feel very great about this. I guess I'll take UNLV because they looked awesome without their QB1 last week, and it seems like they got a fire lit underneath
Ooh,
them. So I'll take a UNLV with 2 points here.
I don't know if there was a bigger loser of the week last week, more so than Matt Saluka kid who just up and quit, and then the backup goes for like 4 or 5 touchdowns and 300 total yards. But yeah, I'm going UNLV. I'll go for three.
I gotta go. Who would have thought going into the season, with the stuff that we as Husker fans went through with possibly getting Kyle McCord, and then all of a sudden Dylan Raiola says yes to us, and then a bunch of Husker fans are like, "Well, Kyle McCord sucks, so who cares?" Suddenly, and now he is leading the country in passing yards per game. Like, who would have guessed that one?
That's crazy.
Honestly,
As
I'm going with Syracuse just because I don't trust UNLV's defense, and I do love one of Matt Rule's best friends, Fran Brown, is the head coach of Syracuse. I'll go with Syracuse with 6.
ooh,
I like it. And that was boy. I'm so glad you bring that up because that was such an interesting time. Because we're going from Jeff Sims and Heinrich Harburg and Chuba Purdy, and then all of a sudden Kyle McCord felt like a diamond in the rough. It's like, oh, this is great. It's gonna be a huge upgrade. And then Dylan Raiola sends Matt Rule a text, and it's like, okay, I kick rocks, Kyle McCord, if that's what it
And
takes.
then suddenly Kyle McCord's not good enough to play here. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, yeah, and that's my thing is that he would have been a huge upgrade from what we
Yeah,
had, which is all that we were looking for. Even then I had no idea that he was capable of doing what he's doing at Syracuse.
no.
well,
So
as one of the resident people who really didn't want McCord out of the portal, my whole train of thought was, all right, if you can't do it with the weapons at Ohio State, what makes you think you're going to come to Nebraska and light it up? But little did the whole world know
That's
that,
fair.
I mean, this guy can really sling the rock, and he's doing it at Syracuse, and it's like, I mean, man, is what's going on at Ohio State that he didn't work out there is what is so weird to me about that whole situation.
That's
right.
totally fair.
Up next, we got Missouri and Texas A&M. Both teams that have kind of looked subpar to me, and going into Texas A&M is no joke. But I'll take Missouri to get their road win, just because I feel like there's so many times where I've been like, oh, Texas A&M's gonna finally figure it out, and they don't. So maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not getting burned by the Aggies again. Give me Missouri out of 4.
You know,
I, Go ahead,
I
Jed.
uh, I'm not 100% sure on this game because every time I've watched Missouri, it's like, okay, you're super explosive on offense, or at least you have the capability of doing it, but you just don't do it enough. Um, but at the same time, I really like their quarterback. I like their running back, Nate Noel. He's second in the SEC in rushing yards per game. I will almost always take, if you're a good running team, I will almost always take you. So I got Missouri winning this game at 5.
Love that. I love Mike Elko and what he's doing right now at Texas A&M. The stones on that guy to bench a 5-star quarterback and then still be 4-1 to start your tenure at an SEC school is pretty impressive. But I think Missouri has another gear with their, senior quarterback, with their first round wide receiver Luther Burden, and then obviously Nate Noel. I think we're going to see them turn it up a little bit here in the next month or so. So I'll take Missouri for 4.
I really like that you brought up Mike Elko. I love him as a coach. I'm not 100% sold on him yet as a head coach. He's a great defensive coordinator, but as a coach in general, yeah, Mike Elko's the shit.
He's
I think it
a
was
he's a
exactly what Texas A&M needed. They needed a good
Yep.
ball coach, not
Yep.
just
yeah.
glitz and glam like Jimbo Fisher.
Yep.
Up
He's gonna
next,
have them being frisky here in
very
a
frisky.
year or two.
Yeah.
SMU and Louisville. Louisville, a tough loss to Notre Dame last week. I have a hard time gauging them and Tyler Shuck. But SMU blew the brakes off of Florida State. I mean, even though we much down on Florida State compared to where I was at beginning of the season, SMU's always had a lot of firepower, and I'm very curious to see. I think they probably scored 120 points the last 2 weeks combined. So give me SMU. Tyler got Louisville here, so I'll fade him. Give me SMU at a 3.
Well, before I continue, you'll see a trend of mine. I'm going road heavy on these picks, but SMU. I said this before with Missouri. SMU runs the ball, so I will take SMU. I also think, and you probably will never meet a bigger Notre Dame hater than myself. But at the same time, I can respect what they're doing. I actually do love Marcus Freeman as a defensive coach, maybe not a head coach, but their defense is very physical. I think that Louisville is going to be a little beat up coming into this game, and SMU is going to be riding that high. I got SMU at 4 points.
Yeah, for me, this is a real toss-up game, and I think Louisville has a great defense, is what is really giving me some internal struggle here. But I hate that Louisville's quarterback. He's another one of those guys that's been at 3 or 4 schools now, and it hasn't worked out anywhere. So, as a straight fade of that guy, I'm going SMU for 1.
But to be fair to that, though, he played really well last year. I agree with your point as far as him playing at many different schools, but Jeff Brom is a legit quarterback coach, and they did really well last year. They were one of my picks to make the ACC title game last year, mainly because of their schedule, not necessarily because of their quarterback last year. But I get your point with Shuck, but having Jeff Brom helps him a lot.
For sure. And Jeff Brom is a great coach in himself.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. That's why I put that one at 1. I don't feel great about that one, but I think, like you said, off of the Notre Dame game, maybe a possible letdown spot for Louisville too. So that one could go either way.
Yep.
Up next, Michigan and Washington. My infamous just turn on the 2023 highlights bowl. But Michigan seems to have figured out at least some type of rhythm that I haven't seen much from Coach Fish in Washington. So give me Michigan with the 5 to pick up a win on the road.
Well, I won't acknowledge the team that wins this game because fuck them. So I will just say Washington loses again to that other team because that other team just has too much power, and they kind of figured out that they just need to run the ball to win games. And I think this is the easiest game of the week of the 10 that you guys have. So I got Washington losing for 10.
I was doing some research on this one before we hopped on, and our friends out in Vegas have Washington favored here at home, and I do not understand that even a little bit. But
Absolutely.
if I mean, I think Michigan is more physical. I think they're better. But some about those people out in Vegas, they're not wrong too often. So I'll go Washington for two.
Ole Miss and South Carolina. Ole Miss gets upset by Kentucky. Um, didn't quite see that one coming. I had Ole Miss as a low key a contender in the SEC. I think Jackson Dart's going to win the Heisman Trophy, but got slipped up against Kentucky. I think they bounce back in a pretty big way. I'll take the Rebels with 7.
Yeah, Ole Miss is pissed. They're gonna pound South Carolina. Also, um, I am the biggest hater of Frank Beamer on the planet. I think he's the most overrated coach in the history of sports. So if your last name is Beamer, I go against you. Ole Miss for 9.
Love that. I think we saw what happened after Notre Dame got embarrassed by NIU. They come back and put up 66 on old Purdue. Um, I think they're embarrassed. I think South Carolina should have beat LSU, but they still have some flaws in that team. So Ole Miss pretty big. I'll go Ole Miss 8.
And in the SEC, they still got Georgia on the schedule, so they don't get any more mulligans. And
No.
so I
No.
think they're going to take that out on South Carolina pretty heavy. Texas Tech and Arizona. I'm going to be. I have no beat on either of these teams. I was high on Texas Tech coming into the season. Thought Joey McGuire was finally going to get some momentum rolling. Loses first game of the year, loses or almost loses to Abilene Christian, gets blown out by Washington State, then hangs 200 points on UNT, and then bounces back last week as well to get Big 12 play underway. And I might be falling for them again. Arizona, big win against Utah, the perennial favorite going into the Big 12. Ted McMillan and Noah Fafita's a problem, and I think because of them two, I'll take the home team with a 1 point tier.
Defense wins championships. And also, I cannot pick a 53-year-old whose name is Joey. So I'm taking Arizona with 2 points.
I just there's not a whole lot to like for me about Texas Tech. I think Arizona has the better players, possibly the better coach. I think they get it done at home pretty convincingly. I'll go Arizona 7.
And then I was saving my 10 pointer for this one. Would not have expected at the beginning of the year this would be such a lopsided affair, but Clemson going on the road to Tallahassee. This feels like the moment where Florida State makes a quarterback change, but Clemson's been on a roll since getting embarrassed by Georgia. So give me Clemson with my full 10 points.
Yeah, I got Clemson at 8. Florida State's quit. Like I don't trust Clemson's quarterback.
Klubnik.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cade Klubnik. Totally brain farting. Sorry, I've also been sipping on Jaeger this entire time. So, but yeah, I've got Clemson big in this one. Florida State's quit.
I think Clemson is on a warpath since that Georgia game, and I'm hoping the DJU experiment is just about over for good at any school because he's another one of those guys. It's this third school, and I'm just not a fan. Clemson, yeah, 10. No
Uh,
contest here.
DJU was listed as or on the depth chart today.
Yeah,
Interesting. Interesting.
should have never ended up at a place like Florida State. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Silver medal in the state of Florida going on in Tallahassee. UCF making the road trip to Florida. Tyler's real high on the Golden Knights with 7 points for his pick. I love the Golden Knights. I hate the Gators, but boy, it feels like a tall task to go into Tallahassee, especially after getting drugged through the mud by the folks out west. So I'll take Florida, and then whatever my lowest point is, give me. I don't really have a lot of low points. Give me Florida 6.
Sorry to correct you, but you said going into Tallahassee, obviously Gainesville for going
Gainesville, that's right.
I knew what you meant, but sorry. I kind of want to pick Florida, or I don't want to pick UCF because they kind of pissed me off last week, not playing the way that they should have played against Colorado, or that sister to the west. But I am going to take UCF, but I'm going to take them low at 3.
Yeah, this is a weird one. Both of them, like Florida has proven to us week in and week out that they're not good. And UCF laying that egg last week, it's like, where does that leave you? I guess I'll go UCF for the lowest one I had left, whatever that is.
Let's see, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like.
Yeah. I don't know.
Classic ACC matchup, Miami and California, Berkeley. Tyler has this as his 10-pointer. I'm also pretty high on the Canes here, but we lost him?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Uh-oh.
There he is.
Sorry. I didn't do anything.
No, you're good.
Just playing a classic ACC matchup, Miami going across the country to Cal. Miami's way better, but don't sleep on the fact that they have to go all the way across the country. But I'll still take Miami with 8.
Yeah, the defenses are very comparable. California actually has a really good defense. I do love Justin Wilcox as their head coach, at least as far as a defensive coach. Kind of what we've been talking about before is certain coaches are really good coordinators. Certain coaches are really good head coaches. I think Justin Wilcox is a better defensive coordinator than a head coach. But Miami's offense is legit, especially with Cam Ward. So I've got Miami with 7.
It's one of those quarterbacks that's been at 3 different schools, so I'm sure Brooke likes California here.
Cam Ward is the exception to the rule. I loved him at Wazoo. Obviously, they didn't win too much there, but it's Wazoo. He got him to a bowl game, so
that's right.
Yeah, I think too much firepower here for Miami, but like you both hit on, this might be closer than people think.
Yeah.
I'll go 6. I think I have.
Jed, what was your points on that one?
7.
Right,
7.
That's right. And then the big one, the first time that I haven't put all 10 points on Nebraska here, but I will take the next best thing. Give me Nebraska 9. I don't feel that confident in them, but the way I think about it is I'm going to be sad if Nebraska loses either way. So might as well throw out some extra points there.
I will be honest. I put this game at 1 because I really don't know who I'm going to pick just yet. We record in a couple of days on Wednesday. I might change it by then. I'm going to lean towards Nebraska, but again, at the beginning of the year, this was a toss-up game for me. I still have some more stat digging that I want to do. So for the purposes of your show, I'll lean towards Nebraska, but that's not – there's a reason I put it at 1. I don't know really what I'm going to do here.
That's a very rational thing to do. We appreciate that. We need more of that on the show.
Yeah, obviously – Rutgers is very good at, like Shiano says, if you ever listen to him talk, they like to win in the margins, whether that be in special teams, field position. And our special teams right now, our kicking game is really killing us. So if we can get into the end zone, I think we'll take care of business. But, man, I don't feel great about this one because – I mean, this is a very much a clash of styles. They like to run the ball. We have a good run defense. They don't give up a ton of points in the red zone, and that's kind of where we struggle. So, I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we're turning over a new leaf, and I'll go Nebraska at 9.
I like it. Should be a good week in Memorial Stadium and across the country. Any final thoughts on this week before we wrap up?
Not for me. I mean, let's just keep going. Like, keep going and growing. I'm going to add another letter in there. I know that's not technically spelled the same way, but you get my point. But, like, that's my biggest thing with this season. That's the reason why I picked a 7-5 season is because everybody was like, oh, the first 7 games 7-0, and because they just looked at the names on the schedule and that we got better with a 5-star quarterback and we're returning all these guys on defense. But you forget the fact that all these other teams are getting better too. The old adage of they're on scholarship as well. I picked 7-5 to start the season because this is still a growing process for this Coach Rule's staff and program. That we are continuing to grow, and we've seen that from week to week, even though we haven't been perfect.
Yeah, I think we got to exercise some demons this week, and hopefully, as a fan base, we can get rid of that nervous energy, come out, handle our business at home. Even though, like Jed said, we maybe have counted this preseason as a win on the schedule, but if you know college football, like Rutgers is never just a rollover team. So, I mean, we all have that in the back of our minds, but I would just like to see us come out and handle a good football team, start to finish. I think is
I
the
will
goal.
say, not just that Rutgers is never a rollover, but especially with Greg Schiano as their head coach.
Absolutely, yeah. They really grind you out, so this will be a good test for us.
Yep.
That'll do it for us here on Cornhusker Connection. Thanks, Jed, for hopping on. Make sure to check out his show, Big Red Junkies. Outstanding fan-led podcast. I think the best in the Husker space. So I appreciate you hopping on.
Thank you very much. We're doing what we can. We just like to have a good time. Obviously, I was doing it with you guys. I was drinking a little bit. That's what we like to do on our show, and just shit talk. It's just bar talk stuff. So we just like to have fun.
I love it. Well,
Love it.
before you leave, if you're still listening to us, make sure to subscribe, like the video. Again, it means a lot to us. It doesn't hurt you at all. Go Big Red.
Yep.
Go Big Red.